Could Mr. Coulombe recommend any literature, TV, or movies that well model traditional femininity?
Oh, God bless us all. Downton Abbey.
Okay. That's been on my to-watch list, yeah.
All right, so watch Downton Abbey. Although you'll find that the oldest daughter and the middle daughter get a little slutty.
No. Loaded into this question, by definition, in order to find traditional femininity, would it have to be a period piece?
Well, see, that's and that's part of the problem because, period pieces of necessity dwell with eras that were en route to being what we are now.
Yeah.
Which is a problem. I could say...
We can't look to Barbara Stanwyck, Katharine Hepburn, Audrey Hepburn.
They were all wonderful. But like Breakfast at Tiffany's, where, oh my gosh, Audrey Hepburn will melt your heart, but she's a good time girl.
That's true.
Yeah. Of course, George Papard comes across as very masculine. He's a kept man. So.
What about My Fair Lady? My favorite musical. Come on.
I love the show. All right, I love the show. But I mean, why not Mad Men?
Whoa! I like Mad Men, but
well, see, that's the femininity I remember.
So you're saying that was a more accurate depiction of what femininity was like?
Well, it's more at
that time.
It's closer to what I saw.
Yeah, what you saw.
Than Downton Abbey was, because I wasn't around in World War One.
Okay.
And I mean, obviously there were some loose chicks in Mad Men.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, you had the feeling that they were attempting to live up to an ideal they didn't. Same with the guys. I mean, all the guys stood up with Anna Rome and all that, but at the same time, they're preying on the women.
Yeah.
So, let's just say the externals were what I remember. Because you bear in mind, as a little kid, I didn't really see the other side of it.
Okay.
But a little kid who never sees the other side of things at any time.
What about adaptations of some novels? What about Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, Howard's End, all that good stuff?
Jane Austen is good. I think that's probably why so many conservative-minded girls fall in love with Jane Austen. I think that's probably why.
Yeah.
Again, when I was young, which was a long time ago, I don't think I knew any girl interested in literature and of a sane disposition who didn't love Jane Austen.
It's true.
I'm sure if one thought about it, there'd be others. Femininity isn't something I give a lot of thought to, not being very feminine myself. Mm-hmm. Although I have been accused of being a giggling cuck.
You know who has given a lot of thought to femininity?
My old friend
Solange Hertz.
That's she.
Searcher of Majesty, and Women, Words, and Wisdom. The whole point of these are to discover authentic femininity. Let's see, what do I say about this? One of the big things she's on... one of the big things she talks about is masculine and feminine spirituality. Those are important differences. Yes. Very important differences. Extremely. Men pray differently from women. And so the two shouldn't pray like each other because they're both of different mindsets.
And they pray differently upon each other.
I don't like that pun.
Oh, all right, never mind.
Let's see here. And what's the other one? Oh, the other big point is that she attacks is the modern concept of a woman getting out of the house. You need to get out to live life. And one of her big things is if you're a housewife, the family should be your life. You should love the family. You shouldn't be like, oh gosh, these kids, they're driving me up the wall. Let me go to some women's club and really let my hair down.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Well, and it also, one thing I will say in terms of the relationship with married people, and mind you, being a bachelor, you might think, well, gee, what have you got to say about married people? The answer is most of my friends are married. That's just what happens if you last long enough. And if there's anything I've noticed, it's that really the wife determines the atmosphere of the house much more than the husband does. Especially if she's not working, she is in a position to turn the home into a little bit of paradise. Men are pretty simple creatures, ladies. It doesn't take a lot to make us happy. It really doesn't. When your man comes home, if you're trying to look your best and the place is well picked up, you greet him as though you're excited to see him, and you put off complaints for maybe 20 minutes until he unwinds, you'll have a very, very happy man. It doesn't take much. You can say, well, why shouldn't I be able to share my problems with him immediately? Well, because ideally, when he comes home from work, his home is a refuge, not another battleground.
Mm.
The problem is, if what he comes home to is a constant source of annoyance and battle, then his work becomes his refuge. If that's all that happens, that's bad. But the problem is that, as the immortal Jack Jones tells us in Wives and Lovers, day after day there are girls at the office, and men will always be men. If I had a dime for, well, not a dime, but certainly $20, for every case of adultery I knew that came out of that dynamic, I'd be able to treat you to Musso and Frank's tonight.
That's a ritzy place?
Yeah.
$20 each time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So out of the thing where the man comes home and all these problems get dumped on him?
In the immediate.
In the immediate, yeah.
Whereas if he comes home, his wife looks happy to see him, sits him down, gets him a drink or something, says, how was your day, lets him vent. Then as soon as he's vented, then he wants to know what her thing is. And then she can tell him. And one thing that men love, unless they're morons, they love to fix problems. So, if after he said, my boss yelled at me again, and the idiot in the next cubicle once again sucking on his false teeth till I could brain him with my computer, and on and on and on and on. When he's finished, so what about you, Doll? What was going on? She says, well, pretty good. Of course, afraid your son broke the neighbor's window.
So the women were just not interested. It sounds like they weren't even interested in listening to their husbands.
No, I'm saying that's right. Well, they often aren't today, especially if they're out working.
But that's not a charge that can be laid specifically on women. I mean, men do that too all the time.
Well, they do, but the difference is that, as I say, once they're vetted, we can turn around and get them to do something, fix things, make things happen, make things work.
I don't know how people could get married in that context where it's so one-sided.
Oh, they did, because the alternative, you got to bear in mind that, how do I put this? It really wasn't one-sided, because what the woman got out of it was, apart from her husband's support, was just that, support. A life, a place, a house, children. Women have been taught to think that the men's world is a great place. It's not.
Yeah.
The housewife did not have to go through the garbage that the man had to go through. And there's a lot of garbage.
Yeah.
If you've got a decent husband who's respectful and looks after you and so forth, that's a world of difference from crawling to an office that maybe can be a competitive or dead end. I'm in the mailroom and I've been there for 50 years. And I'm looking to retire with my gold watch and my gilded headband.
Oh, man, that's a sad story.
It's a sad story, but why does he do it? He does it to keep his wife and kids. That's why he does it.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, having said that, so depending on the profession, traditionally, some women were even wilder for their husband's success than the husbands. People always used to joke about faculty wives at universities because these ladies would definitely on the lookout for their husband's advantages and would take advantage of things that the man wouldn't. You know, there's an old saying, behind every great man, there's a good woman.
Yeah.
Well, that's not false.
Okay.
Partly because a good woman inspires a man to want to do better. Partly because beyond that, you want to be able to provide more for her and for the kids. And again, if she provides an environment for you that's happy, there's very little you won't do for her. And yes, it centers around the husband working and doing things.
And the often overlooked part of marriage is you're supposed to do it to help you guys get to heaven, too.
That part gets left out a lot. As does
we forget about that.
As does the raising of the children.
Yeah.
We forget about that, too.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about the two of them. It's also about the little the little darlings.
Yeah.
And helping the little darlings to get to heaven. Now, I can tell you, it's funny, I was probably the last generation of urban Americans, for whom it was peculiar for the mother to have an outside job. Mine never did while I was alive. When I was little, she did acting and all that. We were back home. Once we came out here, that was it. She was a housewife. And, she was there when I came home in the morning. When I came home in the evening, rather, from school in the afternoon. Sometimes, much to my annoyance, she would drag me to the tea room in Bullock's, Wilshire. Then she'd be there with a bunch of other ladies with their hats and gloves on, ordering tea, and I would sit there bored out of my skull. But no, I'm glad she did it. Because what she didn't know, and the other ladies who went to tea didn't know, and I didn't know, was that whole world was shortly going to die. So I'm glad I got to see it.
Yeah.
Even though I can remember just sitting there, little legs on a chair, just bored out of my skull. But to be fair, as soon as we finished with our tea, she'd let me loose in the toy department.
Nice.
Yeah.